Biafra, superstars, media.
My people, my Biafran people, now how on a day? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending from where you listen to the sound of my voice. This is the Biafra Superstars Media, and I'm holding it down. I say, may God bless Biafra, and may God bless His Excellency Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. May God bless the Prime Minister of the Biafra Republic Government in Exile, the Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, His Excellency ESN Ekpa Simon Njoku, for the great job Simon is doing, for his wisdom. We want to say, Simon, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we love you. We know in your hands, Simon, Biafra is safe. In your hands, Simon, Biafra is coming. And in your hands, when Biafra comes, the people of Biafra will rejoice. My people, permit me today to be very, very formal, because I want to put out there to our Prime Minister, I want to bring to the notice of our Prime Minister that even though the Biafra government, we have chosen to accept the non-kinetic solution, the non-kinetic approach of the zoo government when it comes to dealing with the Biafran people, I want our PM to know that, on the other hand, we will not forget the Aburi Accord, the agreement of the Aburi Accord, that in the 11th hour, the zoo government, run by the man called Gowon, he chose to break or breach the agreement of the Aburi Accord. So while we are going out to show our suspect or respect for the zoo government, we want to believe in them that for the first time, they will be doing what they should do in terms of honoring the non-kinetic approach. But my people, today, we've seen on social media, we've seen our Prime Minister, he has come out to let the whole world know that we, the Biafrans, we are in support of the non-kinetic solutions that the zoo government, in the name of Tinubu, Shetima, and the rest of them, they have canvassed and they have brought to the table. My people, I want to let the zoo government know that we, the Biafrans, we know the games they played. As the saying goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. My people, this is exactly the same blueprint or the same script they played to our eternal leader, Ojukwu, in 1966. We want to let the zoo government know that we are watching them. This is the final chance we are giving them not to breach this trust that we have given them for the last time. Now, my people, let us sit back and watch exactly what happened in the Aburi Accord of 1966. For those who know Aburi, it took place in Ghana, where Ojukwu felt he was not safe to have a discussion outside the land of Biafra. And Mr. Gowon as well said he felt safe in the place they called Nigeria, but he wasn't safe to come to the land of Biafra to have a discussion. So at the end, they chose to go on a neutral ground in Ghana, in a place known as Aburi. So my people, please let us sit back and watch exactly what happened in Aburi, the key points, and tell me if the zoo government, they want to play the same script. But I will assure them that this time, our Prime Minister, he knows the game. We know the game they want to play. So we are giving them a sense of, and in fact, we just want to trust them. I use that word trust lightly. Because for the first time we are saying, because the whole world is watching, the ball is now on our court. If the zoo government are saying they are coming with a non-kinetic solutions to what is happening in the land of Biafra, the whole world is watching us. Are we going to be diplomatic in our approach? Are we going to be pragmatic the way we handle the situation? And are we going to play the role as gentlemen so we don't look like the aggressors? So when Simon Ekpa said he appreciates or he accepts the non-kinetic solutions from the zoo government, I understand where he's coming from. So right now, my people, I want us to just sit back, relax, and listen to what happened in the Aburi Accord, because sometimes they say history is your best teacher. So sit back, relax, and watch this. I will break it down, I will interject, and I will let the people know how things went during that time in 1966. Listen, let's go.
On January 4 and 5, 1967, delegates and representatives from both the federal government of Nigeria and the eastern region, led by Lieutenant Colonel Emeka Ojukwu, met in Aburi, Ghana, to agree on what is now known as the Aburi Accord. The meeting at Aburi was supposed to be the last opportunity to avoid any conflict or civil war. Unfortunately, it was not to be. In the confusion that followed the second coup d'etat, the slender confidence that remained between the Igbo and the Northerners was shattered. Disturbances broke out in the east, but even more so in the north after August 1st, 1966. The mass killings of the Igbo in the north were a deplorable act that was condemned by Nigerians, including the military governors. The mass killings of the Igbo in the north were a deplorable act that was condemned by Nigerians, including the military governors.
Boom. This tells you the beginning, the advent of the so-called Biafran War. The advent was the killing of the Igbos, the Biafrans in the north. So when they say the Igbos, the Biafrans, we are the aggressors, that was not the case. Ojukwu wanted to have a discussion with Gowon in a neutral ground to discuss that thing they call Nigeria. And while that discussion was going on through the media, they spin the news whereby suddenly the Biafrans who were coming back from the north were killed. Killings were happening before your eyes. Even though that picture is a black and white, that's a van, a bus carrying people from the north to the land of Biafra. They were killed and the buses were set alight, ablaze. Let's continue.
With the counter-coup of July 29, 1966, the political development of Nigeria's federal structure took a different turn. It was accentuated even more by the fact that the Eastern Regional Government in Enugu immediately threatened secession if certain grievances and demands were not met.
Again, we went out to set out a condition and we said we are going to secede. We will break away from Nigeria if certain things that should be in place are not met, some certain conditions, because we saw what was happening in 1966 and in 1967. Exactly what is playing out now is what was playing out then. The Nigeria has not changed. The Nigerian government has not changed. The Fulani cabal, they have not changed. As the saying goes, the devil you know is better than the angel you do not know. So even though we are saying again, we want to accept their so-called non-kinetic solutions, we must keep our eyes in history. This was the same game they played in 1966/1967. Let's continue.
The immediate concern of the federal government, therefore, was for it to find ways to appease the East, so long as such concessions were within the framework of one Nigeria.
Boom. Now, their ways to appease the East was to come up with a concession, a solution, so long it will still be based on their so-called one Nigeria. Exactly what is happening now. Shetima came down to Anambra State to speak to Charles Soludo. He also had a discussion with the man they call Kalu, the deputy speaker. And suddenly now they are coming up with a so-called peace treaty in the land of Biafra. My people, keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. They are playing the same script. Let's continue, and towards the end, I'm going to chip in one or two things that will open and blow your mind. Listen.
He was not safe outside the East. The Eastern Military Governor, Lieutenant Colonel Chukwuemeka Odumegu Ojukwu, refused to leave the region for any meeting anywhere in Nigeria. In a rejoinder, the federal government too argued that the Nigerian leader, Yakubu Gowon, should also not go to the East for a meeting. His life, they also claimed, was not safe there either. Tension mounted, and Lieutenant General Joseph Arthur Ankra of Ghana offered a neutral meeting place. The venue was Aburi, Ghana. The Aburi meeting started on January 4th, 1967, and lasted for 2 days. Aburi was significant for several reasons. First, that the leaders met at all was an achievement in itself. But even more tangible was the fact that the leaders agreed that force would not be used to settle the brothers' palaver.
Boom. Even for the leaders to meet was like a miracle of its own. And the second aspect is that they both agreed that force will not be used to solve their so-called brothers' palaver. My people, Ojukwu and Gowon, they agreed that force will not be used. Today, the Zoo government, they are coming with a non-kinetic solution. Non-kinetic approach means you are coming to solve a problem without the use of force. You are not coming with your guns where you kill people, you maim, you destroy in order to foster peace. Non-kinetic means you are coming with an olive branch. You are coming to meet the stakeholders. You are coming on a round table to discuss on how to foster peace or how to live amicably with your neighbor. Non-kinetic approach. In 1967, in January, Ojukwu as well met with Gowon, where they agreed to make sure things happen peacefully, where there is no fight, to solve their brothers' palaver. Can you now see the similarities happening? To my PM, I say we must keep our eyes on the ball. The Zoo government, they always come with the same tactics, tactics given to them by Britain. We have to be careful this time that we don't fall for the same trap. They know that Biafra is coming. They know their Zoo government cannot fight us. They know the economy of that Zoo called Nigeria is going down. They cannot stomach a war this time. So I hope they are not trying to buy time by saying they are coming with a non-kinetic solution approach. My PM, we must keep our eyes on the ball. Let's continue.
There was also the question of the disposition of Nigerian troops and the reorganization of the army after the second coup on July 29, 1966, and the subsequent killing that followed in May and September. Further, Ojukwu said that his region was perturbed, that contrary to Gowon's promise on August 9, 1966, that all soldiers would return to their region of origin, northern troops still occupied the western region. Gowon replied that his promise of August 9 applied to the repatriation of soldiers of northern origin stationed in the east back to the north, and those of eastern origin stationed in the north back to the east. He had fulfilled his promise, he said. He then emphasized that soldiers of northern origin would remain in the west since there were only a few Yoruba in the Nigerian army.
Boom. As you can see in this situation now, Ojukwu became an advocate. He was speaking on behalf of our Yoruba brothers. He was an advocate for our Oduduwa brothers. So when our brothers or our neighbors, the Yorubas, they are saying they hate the Igbos, I don't know where that hate comes from. Because before the so-called Biafran war, we were brothers. Ojukwu was speaking on behalf of the Yoruba people that, please, I know you have taken your northern military from the southeast, but I have noticed they are still staying in the west, which was the southwest. Why have you not honored that agreement to remove them? This was Ojukwu speaking to Gowon. And Gowon, in response, he said, no, I only promised you to take away the northern military from the eastern region, from the land of Biafra. That was my promise. And he emphasized that those in the Yoruba side must remain. So you can see that Ojukwu was being an advocate for the Yorubas. He was trying to help them gain their own independence. So today, when I'm seeing on social media, Igbo and Yoruba, they are fighting themselves, they are hating themselves, I am asking myself, where did this come from? Where did this hatred come from? Why does the Yorubas and the Igbos have this issue? Where does this anger and hatred come from? Because from time immemorial, we had no problems with the Yorubas. From time immemorial, we the Biafrans, we have no issue with the Yorubas. During the military, they were like our younger brothers. We were looking out for our younger brothers. We were asking that zoo called Nigeria. We were asking Gowon, why are your military still in the West? And they told us, well, with all due respect, the agreement was to remove the northern military from the eastern region. If Gowon has agreed to move all the northern military to the north, by now, this issue we are having will not be there. There will be no need for the Biafran war. There will be no need for the Fulanis going to the land of the Yorubas to take over their land. And again, I'm asking, this hatred, this enmity between the Yorubas and the Igbos, I keep asking myself, I have gone through different books, I have read through history, I cannot find a single place where they said the Igbos and Yorubas, they fought themselves. So this hatred, where it's coming, I don't know. The only place I'm seeing it is probably from envy. That the Igbos or the Biafrans, they're in Lagos. By nature, we are traders. People who are into trading, you make profit. And in most cases, we make what they call in economics abnormal profits, because we can buy goods cheap from China, we can buy goods cheap from Germany, from Belgium, from France. When you bring those goods to Nigeria and you sell, you make abnormal profit. So the reason why we have the so-called money or we are rich is because we are the ones going directly to the manufacturers to get those products. The same way the owner of Apple, Samsung, cell phones, they are billionaires. That's the same way it applies to the Igbos that do trade, the traders. If you are into business, you are bound to make profit. So this envy and jealousy that we are buying houses in Lagos, I don't get it. I have studied all the whole books. I cannot see where there is a communal clash between the Igbos and the Yorubas. So please, we should be careful when we see all these things happening on social media, because the politicians are the ones responsible. The politicians and their henchmen, they are the ones creating these problems. I have checked all the whole history. I've never seen where the Igbos and Yorubas had a fight. The fight has always been between we and the Northerners, and we keep on telling them they have to be fair. They chose not to be fair. So these distractions of the Yorubas having issues with us, I don't know where it's coming from. Let me take it calm and continue with this video, because I'm very, very angry. When I think about the Yoruba and the Igbos having these issues, I keep on asking myself, where is it coming from? Who is behind this? Because we know the enemies we should be facing. The person coming to Yoruba land to take over your land are your enemies, not the Igbos, not the Biafrans. But I digress. Let's continue.
Ojukwu was not satisfied and further insisted on a reorganization of the army on a regional basis. Gowon was also firmly opposed to splitting up the army. Ojukwu claimed that Nigeria did not have a central government since the country, as a result of the second coup and its aftermath, resolved itself into three separate sovereign areas: the Lagos West-North area, the Midwest area, and the East area. But Gowon insisted that Nigeria was still one nation, an entity composed of 4 regions and a central government in Lagos. Ojukwu then proposed that the situation in the nation necessitated a drawing apart of the regions because the separation of forces, the separation of the population is, in all sincerity, necessary in order to avoid further friction and further killings.
Boom. That could have solved the issue. What Ojukwu said could have solved the issue. Okay, going forward, you have your region, you have your army in your region. It solves the problem. On a regional government, that solves the problem. The center becomes weak, the regions become stronger. This was what Ojukwu was clamoring for. You will see that they even agreed to it until Gowon went back to Nigeria and Britain called Gowon. All he was saying was, allow everybody to maintain their own regions. The Igbos did not say, oh, we want to control everywhere. No, we were saying, be fair, be kind to everybody, to every region. Allow them to be in control of their regions. So when they say they hate the Biafran man, they hate the Igbo, I don't know where this anger, this hatred is coming from. To my Yoruba brothers, I need you to please do a video and show me where we had a problem with you. From time immemorial. This hatred is coming from somewhere else. Because I will only hate somebody I have gone to war with, somebody I have fought with, somebody that stole from me, someone that tries to kill me or my family. Then I might hate you because I will see you as a danger or as an enemy to myself, my safety, my well-being, and that of my family. But in this case, I have gone through so many researches. I have not seen where the Biafrans and the Igbos or the Yorubas have issue. I've not seen it. Even before the war, the same year when you are about to have the Biafran war, Ojukwu was advocating for, please, he was telling Gowon, please, my brother, do the right thing, maintain your region, let me maintain mine. Allow the West to have theirs, and allow the, the Middle Belt or whatever to have theirs. Be in control of what belongs to you. Mind you, this was when you had the pyramids in the north. Everything was there. Control your resources. By now, that zoo called Nigeria would have been an empire in Africa. It would have been the giant that it was supposed to be in Africa. This is the history they chose to remove from the books, from your classrooms, from your schools. The real history. They want to blame the Igbo man, the Biafran man, for what happened in Nigeria. Let's continue. You will see what will happen next. Just listen. Let's continue. Let's watch.
The other leaders who all wanted one Nigeria agreed to Ojukwu's proposal, but apparently without understanding the implication.
Boom. The other leaders who wanted one Nigeria, they agreed to Ojukwu'S proposal. But now she's adding her own there now. She's now trying to interpret. She's now saying, although they did not understand the implication, who is this presenter to add leap into what they agreed? When you see the picture, in the 60s, these men, they are highly intellectuals. They are intelligent men. But she's here saying, oh, they were like minors. They did not understand what they agreed in or whatever. That's what she's saying. A presenter trying to chip in her own point. That's what I'm telling you. In the media, sometimes you must learn how to decipher. She's now saying they agreed to Ojukwu'S proposal, but they did not know what they were agreeing for. A bit strange that leaders, people, these are rulers, these are senior stakeholders, critical stakeholders, they all sat together in Ghana, Aburi, and they agreed on something. But now this lady who was not there, she's saying they agreed to Ojukwu'S proposal, but they did not know what they were agreeing into. Let's continue. Just listen. This is where you will now get a twist.
This was a bombshell of Aburi. By agreeing to Ojukwu'S argument that the region should first pull apart in order to stay together, the other leaders in effect sanctioned Biafra's secession, hence the end of Nigeria as a single nation. They attended and left the Aburi meeting with a firm belief that Nigeria should and would continue as one nation. But they had gone to that meeting, as it seems, without adequate preparations in terms of a crew of legal and political advisors, which such a meeting demanded.
Hey, God have mercy. Leaders that went to sit down to discuss. Now, the narrator is now adding their own into it. That's to show you what Britain did. The magic, the hocus pocus. Leaders, during those days, your leaders, they were very, very young and they were smart. Presidents were in their 30s. They went as men. They sat down as men and they discussed and agreed as men. They knew the right thing to do as men. They signed the document and they were happy to leave as men. But suddenly, Gowon was leaving. Britain now called him. What did you agree with the Biafrans? And when he told them, it's all fine now, we have peace now, there is peace now. All the regions, they'll be in their places. There'll be no more fight. There'll be no more coup, because the northern will be towards the north and all those things, the eastern. And Britain said, no, we're not having that. Because Britain owns Nigeria. Britain is the CEO of Nigeria. You cannot be having a meeting without letting the CEO know. Gowon did not know that. Ojukwu knew that Britain was the owner of that so-called Nigeria. But Gowon did not understand. He found out the hard way. That even when he agreed on something, on his way back home, Britain made him to nullify the agreement. Listen to what they did after they agreed to the agreement. Listen.
They had gone to Aburi in a spirit of comradeship. Ojukwu, on the other hand, meant business. He arrived in Aburi with a strong team of legal, political, and economic advisors, secretaries, and realms of paper. Not only did the other leaders agree with Ojukwu that the regions and people of the nation should first draw apart, but they also agreed to the latter suggestion that there should be no more supreme commander of the army, hence, no head of government or head of state. What Ojukwu wanted was that whoever was at the top should be a titular head who would only act when all of them have met and taken a unanimous decision.
How wonderful is that? You're all asking for a national conference, a sovereign national conference. Now you are crying because things are not equal. But Ojukwu, in his presentation, exactly what you're asking for is what he asked for then. That all the regions will be independent. All the leaders within the region, they will sit down and agree something. Then the leader in the middle will be more like a figurehead. You see, same way you have in Britain, the queen or the king now is a figurehead. He is a ceremonial head. He has no real power. He is a figurehead that whatever the prime minister of Britain agrees is what the queen will not come out and say, or the king now. What Ojukwu was clamoring for with his legal team, he went there prepared with his political men and his legal team. They went there prepared because they believed they were coming to discuss with men with real intellect and men who they could, trust. Which is why I'm telling our PM, our Prime Minister, we must keep our eyes on the ball. The Zoo government, they've played this script before. They have played the game before, my PM. We must keep our eyes on the ball. They will agree on something now, but because they know their military is down, the economy is down, they cannot fight a war right now. If they go to war with us, we will crush them. They know that, so they are coming with the tactics, perhaps given to them by Britain, to say, hey, slow them down. Your economy is bad now. You have no money to go to war with the Biafrans. So slow them down. Say you are coming with a non-kinetic approach to solve the problem. Our eyes is on the ball because we know the history. We the Biafrans, we know the history. We have done our research. Our eyes is on the ball. As the saying goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Ojukwu went to that meeting prepared. Ojukwu went to that meeting prepared. Gowon was there. And suddenly now they are saying, oh, the other party was not prepared. Let's continue. This is history. Let us look from the way this lady is saying it, because this is somebody giving her own account. Let us hear what she's saying. She's giving her own account of what happened in 1967. So let us hear what she's saying. Continue.
Since the unanimous decision of all the regions was required before he could act on all matters which affected any of the regions or the nations as a whole, the commander-in-chief and head of the government was only so in name. He would still be a title ahead. The point of the agreement at Aburi was that each region would be responsible for its own affairs and that the federal military government would be responsible for matters that affected the entire country. A simple enough concept. Afterwards, the officers toasted their reconciliation and agreement with...
You see them drinking. Afterwards, they toasted their reconciliation and agreement. They agreed on everything and they toasted. This is them drinking wine or champagne. They were toasting to the agreement. It was signed, it was sealed, and it was delivered. They were toasting to the agreement. Oh Lord, my God, have mercy.
Champagne. The federal delegation's jubilation was such that on his plane flight home, Ojukwu asked one of his secretaries whether the federal delegation had fully understood the implications of what had been agreed.
She's saying here, well, she's trying to, had her own into it. She said, it was so amazing that Ojukwu, in their flight going back to Biafra land, he was speaking to his comrades. Wow. This is good news, man. I hope these people, they understood what they have agreed to. This is too good to be true. I hope they understand what they have agreed to. To my eternal leader, Ojukwu, I want you to know, first of all, may your soul rest in peace. We love you. We appreciate you. I want you to know that they knew what they agreed to, because when real men sit down as men and discuss, when they come together under one accord and agree on something, that agreement is binding. Unfortunately, probably in the 60s, people thought they were independent from Britain. They were probably naive to assume that Britain has left them. That Britain gave you your independence in a platter of gold. You did not have to go to war to get your independence. It means there are still some ways they are still hooking you on something. Very, very sad. They assumed that Nigeria was a free nation. And when men came together to discuss, their word was bond. Their word was their word. Their word was sealed. They believed that their word was binding on everybody. They even had a toast to it. They drank wine. And Ojukwu on his way going back home, he was overjoyous. He was asking his colleagues in the plane, how amazing is this? I hope these guys, they knew what they've agreed to. I hope, because he knew about Britain. He knows Britain. Ojukwu knew Britain. But Gowon and the rest, they didn't understand. And the rest was history.
However, no one at Aburi other than Ojukwu really understood the constitutional implications of what had been agreed.
Boom! She's now putting her own there that, well, however, no other person apart from Ojukwu really understood the constitutional implication of what they have agreed. To this narrator, I want to ask you, why treat those men like infants, like they are teenagers, like they are minors or vulnerable, that they don't understand what they agreed? Only minors should be treated that way. People who are children, who are not mature enough, people who don't have the capacity should be seen that way. They all knew what they agreed. The handwriting was on the wall. They knew what they were doing. They knew why they went to Aburi. They knew the consequences of their actions, and they took it. They agreed. They sipped wine. They drank champagne or whatever to the agreement. I thank God it was documented in video. If not, the narrative people are carrying, oh, Ojukwu is a problem. That was the narrative they were carrying. Ojukwu is the problem. But before your eyes, you all can see the video. They were smiling, they were drinking champagne, saying this thing is done and dusted. The agreement is done and dusted.
Ojukwu was obviously delighted with this, hence why he was in such a hurry to implement the decisions that were taken. And
look at what she's saying now. This is where, when people are reporting history, she now said Ojukwu was so excited about all this that he was in a hurry to implement it. To this narrator, with all due respect, you cannot tell a man who controls a region how, when, and what time they can implement an agreement. In fact, an agreement takes off the day it was signed. So don't say he was in a hurry, as if he was being, trying to play a very fast one. No. If I have bought a car, it's been signed, you have taken my check or whatever, or from my bank card, I have paid you, that car belongs mine. It's up to me to say, okay, when will you deliver this car? In 2 weeks, in 3 months, in 1 month? It is up to me to say, no, I want it as soon as possible. It's been signed and sealed. The very first day I signed that document, that car became mine. So don't say he was in a hurry. He was in a haste to implement the policy or that doesn't make sense. You are trying to create a gray area. See if Ojukwu was trying to be, mischievous. He was trying to play 419. He was trying to play pranks. That's the problem I have with history sometimes. When a third party is reporting something, they will be adding their own. They add their own point. They want to justify an action depending on where they are leaning towards. My people, I rest my case on this one, man. Very, very sad. Very, very sad. Very, very sad.
why Gowon had to break his promise.
Boom, you see? Hence, Gowon now broke his promise. While Ojukwu was going to implement, Gowon was going back home to Nigeria, and Britain told him, "What have you done, boy? Listen, boy, we're not doing that. You have to break your promise." And he broke it. Which is why today, tonight, this afternoon, I am calling on our PM our Prime Minister, a man I love, a man I appreciate so much, a man I cherish. I want to call on our Prime Minister, Mazi, Ekpa, Simon and Joko, to please learn from the story of Ojukwu. Please learn from the story of Ojukwu. If you ask me, the Aburi Accord gave Nigeria the time to re-strategize and get weapons from Britain. If you ask me. So please, we must learn from the story of Ojukwu. It was the same thing. What happened then is happening now. But today we are wiser. Because Nigerian government, they know if they go to war with us right now, they cannot defeat us. They don't have the money. Because those in government, they have loot all the money. They have loot Nigeria dry. They don't have the army right now to fight us. So they are saying they are proposing a non-kinetic solutions, which our PM has accepted. But I want to call on our PM to please keep his eyes on the ball, because this was the same way they tried to cajole Ojukwu. God knows how many months after the Aburi Accord did they go to war. Because if they are saying here that they had that meeting in January, and we know around June or July, that was when the war took place, they had some couple of months. That's the politics they play. We have to be careful. I want to please advocate on this. I want to speak on this, my PM, that the agreement of the non-kinetic approach, or whatever they want to call it, the non-kinetic solutions, we must have 3 or 4 parties sign that document, an agreement. One of them will be Britain, because Britain is the owner of Nigeria. Britain is the CEO of Nigeria. So one of the parties to sign that non-kinetic solution will be Britain. The second will be AU, African Union. The African Union, they have a role to play because we are based in Africa. The third party will be the UN, United Nations, because they keep on pretending they don't know what is happening. So there must be one of the parties to sit down and discuss this thing with us. They come with the document of the non-kinetic solutions and we sign. The fourth party will be the zoo government. The fifth party will be the Biafra Republic government in exile. So 5 parties have to be involved in this agreement. It must be signed on the dotted lines. Nobody will say, oh, we did not agree, because this time all parties will be involved. In the case of Ojukwu, he trusted Gowon. He was assuming that Gowon was the strongest man in Nigeria, whatever, not knowing he was a figurehead. He was a figurehead, which was why he could not stand on the agreement. So this time around, before we agree any non-kinetic solutions in the land of Biafra, we want 5 stakeholders, 5 critical stakeholders, the most influential people or parties: Britain, AU, EU, the zoo government, and the Biafra Republic government in exile, or the USB, the United States of Biafra. These 5 parties must be under one roof, come with the agreement, go through the agreement and sign in a neutral land. It must be signed in a neutral ground, because the zoo cannot be trusted. If they did it to Ojukwu, they are ready to do it again. That's the script they use. Britain always used the same script over and over again. Britain, they always use the same script. And I don't want the zoo government to buy time to now say, oh, they're doing non-kinetic, only for them to now get some money and go to war. So if they want war, let us give them war. If they are saying they want peace through a non-kinetic solutions, then all parties must be on board and have that discussion. I rest my case in this presentation. I'm going to stop it here. For those of you who want to know more about what happened in the Aburi Accord, go to your textbooks, go to articles, go to video online, even on YouTube, you'll see some videos, but try to reference the sources. Because some of them, they might be pro-Nigeria and they will write something else there. Some of them might be pro-Britain, they will say something else there. Some might even be pro-Biafra and they will want to write the script to favor the Biafrans more. I want you to do your research. Get the primary evidence and see for yourself. You be the judge. I rest my case, my people. I rest my case on this one. I rest my case. I rest my case. They say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, the shame is on me. We've been fooled before, my PM. We have learned from that. And this time around, we are saying, they cannot fool us again. We have learned from the story of the Aburi Accord. And we are saying this time, if Shetima or Tinubu or whoever is coming with these non-kinetic solutions, we are saying all parties must be on board, it must be documented, it must be signed, and all the major key stakeholders must be represented to sign that document. And whoever breaks that document, this time around, there will be no going back. So from me, from here, for now, I'm going to say peace to the whole family. Biafra Superstars Media, I'm holding it down. May God bless Biafra. And may God bless His Excellency Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. May God bless our Prime Minister, the one and only ESN Ekpa Simon Njoku, for the great job Simon is doing. My PM, I want to say I love you. I thank you. I appreciate you, because I know in your hands, Biafra is safe. In your hands, Biafra is coming. And in your hands, when Biafra comes, the people of Biafra will rejoice. So from me, from here, for now, I'm going to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I remain Biafra Superstars Media. God bless you.
Ike dị n'ụdị n'ụdị, ike dị n'ụdị n'ụdị, ike dị n'ụdị n'ụdị, ike dị n'ụdị n'ụdị, ike Prime Minister, ike dị n'ụdị n'ụdị, ike Biafra, ike dị n'ụdị n'ụdị, ike Pentecost, ike dị n'ụdị n'ụdị, ike Dragon, ike dị n'ụdị n'ụdị, ike Jachunde Nzama, ike dị n'ụdị n'ụdị, 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 ike Dragon, ike dị n'ụdị n'ụdị, ike Prime Minister, ike dị n'ụdị n'ụdị, ike Pentecost, ike dị n'ụdị n'ụdị, Dragon ka anyị ga-eso, ma ọ na-ejeje ma ọ na-ana, Dragon ka anyị ga-eso. My dragon ka anyị ga-eso, ma ọ na-ejeje ma ọ na-ana, Dragon ka anyị ga-eso. MNK ka anyị ga-eso, ma ọ na-ejeje ma ọ na-ana, MNK ka anyị ga-eso. MNK ka anyị ga-eso, ma ọ na-ejeje ma ọ na-ana, MNK ka anyị ga-eso. brother.